congratulations to Cal. They thoroughly outplayed us, especially in that first half. It was too much to come back from. We got out of our elements as an offense, forced to throw the ball way more than we wanted to or were prepared to, and obviously it didn't go well for us. Very proud of the way the defense played in the second half. With the exception of the reverse for a touchdown, we fought, and so I'm pleased with the effort despite the large deficit at halftime. But we got a lot of work to do. We've got to go back and figure out more answers with our offensive scheme so that we don't get stymied like this. But give credit where credit's due to the Cal defensive plan, and we'll go back and see what we can do to be better the next time we play.
Did the offensive line have a little too much? Was Cal doing too much for them, or was it just schemes?
Well, certainly their scheme was important. You know, we got 2 holding calls early in the game that took us out of our element. We right now, with Rosario down, weren't able to make plays to make up the deficit of 10-yard penalties, and it's uncharacteristic for us. We had not had any holding calls coming into this game, at least in recent memory. So. Those were tough to weather, and then obviously the turnover. We had a fumble on the second drive of the game, which was pivotal, giving them the early 14-0 lead. And in this offense, you have to find a way to stay patient, but it also requires that the game stay in balance, and the game got out of balance. And fired up about the way we came out in the second half with an opening drive, going down and getting a touchdown. Defense gave us some chances, but we just were not efficient enough in the throw game to get back into the game, which is disappointing.
How do you explain, though, your program being at this point, you get blown out in a game with a team that arguably you should be able to beat?
Well, we weren't able to beat them today. They played well today. You know, they had 2 weeks to prepare for the game, and they used the time to their advantage. There's no question about it.
What does it say about your program?
That we have to go back and work harder and find a way to be better the next time.
With the 3-game win streak and the games that are facing you now down the line, how is it you guys don't really show up in the first quarter?
I thought we practiced well all week. I thought our concentration was good in the meetings. I can't answer the question. I know holding calls became a huge deal, and then obviously a turnover. And Jonathan's been terrific, but we've got to have him squeeze the ball.
But their first drive, they just pretty much went right down the field.
They did. They had a great first drive. Give credit to them.
Rick, at what point did you feel it was off balance? Was it after Jonathan's fumble, or was it because in the second half you score a touchdown, you're down 3, and the way you guys run the ball, were you feeling in the third quarter you're already off balance?
Well, you're down 3 scores, and you know, Norm felt like he saw something. They were playing a lot of man coverage. We had some chances. We just didn't hit the passes. I mean, we had some chances. We had guys. But give credit to them. Obviously, they were getting pressure on our quarterback and making good plays in the back end.
Does this still demonstrate a disparity, though, in your program with the rest of the Pac-10?
For today, it did. But we're going to keep working to get back to the top half of this deal.
It seemed like a lot of the mistakes today were similar to Kansas State game, Stanford game. Was this some kind of a regression for you guys?
Well, I mean, we made mistakes in the games that we won too. It just they could become magnified when the other team is playing as well as Cal did today. But we're going to continue to work to get better. I'm going to make sure that everybody understands that we have to have a higher expectation for everything in the program, and we'll just keep working at it.
Did you see anything in that first drive they were doing differently that you guys weren't expecting?
Well, they played almost entirely man-to-man coverage.
Their first offensive drive when they had
their
the ball,
first drive. No, they were, you know, playing. They had a little wildcat. We knew that was available to them. We just didn't defend them as well as we need to.
So your main theme here is you got to just work harder.
We got to work harder. We can't beat ourselves. We can't have holding calls. We can't fumble the football. When we play a field position game with people, as we did in the second half, the score was 7-7. You know.
But they're playing a different game in the second half. I mean, you got to give it.
I'm just telling you what happened in the final 30 minutes.
But you're also a coach, and you're watching, you know they're playing a different brand of football. They're way ahead.
I don't know. They ran 2 reverses in the second half. That didn't look like a team that was playing a different brand of football. And they were playing as hard as they played in the first half, and obviously they had a lead. But we can't do it to ourselves. That's the bottom line.
Rick, given the state of the passing game, can you overcome a deficit like that?
We have to find the ability to, and we're going to keep working until we do.
Looking back, should you throw the ball more earlier in the year so you don't get the situation like?
There's no question you can make your determinations as to how do you spend your time. I'm not going to second guess ourselves now, given that we've churned out some great running games and found ways to win 3 games. We've been in almost every game. 2 games have gotten away from us, Stanford and Cal, and we just have to play better in terms of the little things that keep you from staying close in these kind of games and finding ways to win.
You only start one senior on defense. Does that have an impact?
You know, it is what it is. I'm making no excuses. I just know that we have to go out and find ways to get guys stopped, which I thought we did in the second half. And we have to make sure that when we have the ball, that we're more efficient. We don't go backwards. We get ourselves in reasonable third downs, and then we convert them. And there were ways to do that today. It wasn't, I mean, I'm giving them all the credit in the world. They played well and deserved to win, but we could have done better, and we need to look at ourselves critically and make sure that we do.
What were they doing so well against the offensive line?
I have to wait and look at the tape. I have to wait and look at the tape to see what our issues were.
The first drive in the second quarter where you ended up like 4th and 35 and 39, was that kind of sum up your whole day offensively?
Yeah, when we were down to 11 and then had the holding call and then went backwards from there. Yeah, that's a perfect example. If we're anything like we've been in the last 3 weeks, it's 14-7 at that time. And it just wasn't to be. But we've got to go back and fix it. We can't throw in the towel now. We're going into the second half of our season. We're 3-3, and I'm excited about getting better for the second half and seeing just what we can get accomplished.
Yeah, Cal had a drive where they had 30 yards and penalties and they kept getting moved back, but they were overcoming it. How do you get your team to a point where they can overcome things like that?
We have to find answers to that question. It's a great question.
Does that show maybe a level of play that Cal can reach that you guys are still looking for?
I'm going to say the game was what the game was. You saw the same game I saw. I know that we can be a better football team, and I know we can execute better, and we're going to.
Was Kevin healthy? I mean, he had to miss last week.
He was, he was valiant in his effort, but he wasn't certainly 100%.
How's Anthony Barr?
He's got a shin issue, or a calf issue. It's a strained calf, so we'll evaluate him. Anthony Jefferson has a foot. Sheldon Price has a knee. We'll just have to see how those guys respond to treatment.
They took Anthony Jefferson off, did they? If I assume for an X-ray, do you have any results?
I haven't heard any results.
So are you hanging your hat basically in the second half
Of the season?
of this game?
I'm proud of the way we came back and fought. There was no quit in our football team, and I am looking forward to the second half of our season.